Welcome. We are gathered on this lovely spring day to commit to our memory a life that has touched our own, a life now ended, but whose generous and energetic spirit lingers still among us. Elizabeth Johnson LeBaron, or Liz, as she was widely known, may have left this world in December, but her impact on her family, her students, her friends, and this congregation remains. Born in Boston in 1932, Liz attended high school in Framingham before matriculating at Mount Holyoke College. Shortly after college graduation in 1953, Liz married her beloved Ken LeBaron. Together they would live 2 years in Germany and then decades here in Wayland, where they raised 4 children, Carol, Barbara, Dot, and Jim. Liz's love of kids extended well beyond her own. For 6 years, she served as religious educator here at First Parish. Inspired by teaching, she then earned a Master's of Education and began teaching at Wayland Middle School. In our service today, we'll hear from both her family and her teaching family. When I met Liz in 2014 as the new minister, she was still freshly grieved from her husband's death. Bravely, she shared her grief with me and her determination to reconnect with First Parish, with the choir, and with friends, even though her heart was still heavy. I admired her for that courage and for all the ways her love for life, for others, for music, for nature, for her family shone brightly in her. And so it seems fitting that the last time I saw Liz, she had been about to go for a walk out in nature, but was detoured by the arrival of Polly Oliver, our music director, and myself, who were visiting for a special service at her home at Newbury Court. Afterwards, she smiled broadly as she shared her plans to gather with family for Christmas. She also gripped the order of service because she wanted to reread the lyrics and study it to learn more about this particular style of service. Let's see. Nature, people, music, church, family, learning. Sounds like Liz, right? Each of us here today, in person or online, holds our memories, stories, and connections with Liz and her life. We are here because in some way we cared about Liz. We gathered today to remember Liz, to honor the person she was, and to share both our love and loss with those gathered here. It is time to tell these stories, to hear some readings and some music, and to simply rest together in this sanctuary where Liz's spirit is with us still. Let us begin. As a symbol of Liz's bright spirit with us, I invite her grandchildren to come forward to light the chalice, symbol of Unitarian Universalism, and to lead us in a responsive reading, which you'll find on the back of your program. Please rise to sing For the Beauty of the Earth. The lyrics are in the back of your program.
Hi, I'm LeBaron Johnson, the third child of Mom's 4 children. My mom shared with me many things which I still love today. Love of swimming, starting with a prone float on Shelving Rock at Squam Lake. Love of reading, making trips to the Wayland Town Library, a special event each week when we were young. Love of teaching. I've been happily teaching elementary school students for 40 years, thanks to Mom. Love of the outdoors, from family bird walks to hiking Mount Lafayette. Love of friendships, campfire girl excursions, and exciting summers at sleepaway camp. And above all, a deep love and appreciation of family. At the very end of her life, my mom gave me a new appreciation for poetry. I've never read much poetry in my life, besides the children's poems I like to read with my 7-year-olds throughout the school year. Mom was part of a Newbury Court poetry group, and every other Saturday, she had to choose a poem to share. Often Tom and I would be on the road somewhere or enjoying our Saturday morning coffee and tea, and Mom would call to share her latest choice with us. She selected a variety of poets, but I always liked the Mary Oliver poems best. This poem by Mary Oliver is one she chose to read to her poetry group after she came to Squam Lake with us last year. At the Lake by Mary Oliver. A fish leaps like a black pin. Then, when the starlight strikes its side, like a silver pin, in an instant, the fish's spine alters the fierce line of rising, and it curls a little. The head, like scalloped tin, plunges back, and it's gone. This, I think, what holiness is. The natural world where every moment is full of the passion to keep moving. Inside every mind, there's a hermit's cave, full of light, full of snow, full of concentration. I've knelt there, and so have you, hanging on to what you love, to what is lovely. The lake's shining sheets don't make a ripple now, and the stars are off to their blue sleep, but the words are in place, and the fish leaps and leaps again from the black plush of the poem, this breathless space.
Hi, I'm Barb Kendall, second child of Mom and Dad. And Stephanie mentioned Christmas, just this past Christmas when she saw Mom. So I went out to get her, I think a day after Stephanie and Polly saw her, brought her to our house in Dover Plains, New York. Brad and me and our kids, Travis and Stephen, who don't live there anymore, obviously. But so the day after Christmas, December 26th, Mom was going to bed. She said, "Don't leave me," and went into a coma in my arms. From then until today, it's been a 132-day journey for the 4 of us, Mom's children. We've spoken to each other more than we have in decades, not to mention all the texts and emails. We found out things about Mom and about each other that we didn't know or maybe we forgot. Mom would be proud of us, wouldn't she? Right? Our mom was a complex person, reflected in all of you here today from the various parts of her life. I'd like to read 2 quotes from Ralph Waldo Emerson, one of Mom's favorite authors, showing her first as a mom and the second quote as a mentor and a leader. "This is my wish for you, comfort on difficult days, smiles when sadness intrudes, rainbows to follow the clouds, laughter to kiss your lips, sunsets to warm your heart, hugs when spirits sag, beauty for your eyes to see, friendships to brighten your being, faith so that you can believe, confidence for when you doubt, courage to know yourself, patience to accept the truth, love to complete your life. What is success? To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate the beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition, to know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded.
Hi, I'm Carol. I'm the oldest. So I wrote letters to Mom after Dad died and before. I live in Tennessee and was very far away, and so she kept them all. And so I'm sharing just some bits and pieces of a patchwork with you today, things that I've said. She was a spiritual being, and we spent a lot of time just talking about the church. She was so close to this church. And before I forget, I want to thank everybody that's here for coming, and Stephanie and everybody that put this on. It's just wonderful of everybody that you are here and honoring her like this, and the choir and all of it. So I think that when we die, we're only separated from our physical nature that was useful, and our essential spirit's always with us, and that Mom's here. She's here right now. And so that's what made what she was, her thoughts and her affections and her feelings. And it made me who I am, and all of us. I really agree with what Barbara said about how we've all talked, and the four of us children. And it's both our parents' family was so important. So in the spirit of that, this is a letter that I started this morning, May 7th, 2022. Good morning. It's about 8:30 a.m. and I'm still thinking about what to say to you. I feel as if you're really right there, as if I could just set a stamp on this and it will go, but I'm not sure of the address. So I'm reading this patchwork to you instead. And all of my letters had quotes, so I have a quote here. Her quote for the day today is from Teaching a Stone to Talk by Annie Dillard. You know what it is to open up a cottage. You barge in with your box of groceries and your duffel bag full of books. You drop them on a counter and rush to the far window to look out. I would say that coming into a cottage is like being born, except for that we don't come into life with a box of groceries and a duffel bag full of books, unless you want to take these as metonymic symbols for culture. Opening up a summer cottage is like being born in this way. At the moment you enter, you have all the time you're going to have. So I said to her, good morning. I just got off the phone with you. And we were talking about letters. It is so funny to think that as short as 50 or 60 years ago, within my lifetime, we actually learned how to write letters in school. There was a quote in today's New York Times. Letters may reflect a slower cerebral worming. Apparently, this author has written a book on letter writing. I'm going to look for it. Of course, I never found it. I wish you could have just seen the sun come over the hill. It just flooded the yard with light, and it lit up the last of the hibiscus. I need to send you a picture of the beautiful hibiscus soon. I'm so glad you went to yoga. It does not matter if you only do one exercise. Moving is good. You said the other day that letters are easier than talking. By the way, I don't know if I told you, but you don't have to keep all these notes, you know. It is an incredibly beautiful day here today. The mist rose over the mountains early. They were painted in shades of gray and mauve, and the mist rose as it does over Squam, leaving blue and faded green. The Dalai Lama said we have this marvelous brain and intelligence, and we must learn to use it, and you're doing that today with your book group. I hope your bread is well, and I just know your house is lovely. You know what it's like to be so far from your parents because you lived far away from Grandma and Grandpa. But I'm glad we can talk a lot, and writing to you makes me feel closer. I was thinking as I woke up this morning about your last statement when we talked on the phone. I am happy as I can be with this whole. Even though grief is one of pain, if I wasn't able to feel it, I wouldn't be able to feel joy either. I feel joy in the relationship of love that I have with you. I'm looking forward to spending a little time with you again. We can take our morning walk up and down before breakfast. I wish I had all the words to say everything I want to say to you. Sometimes I just wish I were there. Then I could just be with you, and no words are needed at all. But you're a long way away. I'm thinking today of Dot off to Banff. Barb and Brad are traveling today, and you and I here. There's been a lot of family back and forth the last couple days at Squam. I would just say to you, you are a wonderful, strong mother, and I thank you. And you just stick to your own last. It's an inspiration. I wonder when you will get these letters. We went looking for the bank and there was not one there in Weirs Beach. It's a reminder to me of how transient life is. 1 minute we're in one reality, then houses go up, they go down, people are born, they pass. There probably will be an interruption of mail service. I wonder when you will get these letters. I'm so proud of the way you're doing your exercises. It's not easy to do at Squam. Today is our last glorious bookended day. You, me, Barb and Brad, and in spirit, Daddy are here watching. Daddy's watching over all. And upside down, thank you. I know some rough weather is coming here at the greenhouse. I've so enjoyed the time we had together. I always enjoy our rhythm of simple, quiet days. And I wanted just to end with we would do morning meditation often, Mom and I, and she would come in the morning, she's like, what are you doing? And I'd say, well, I'm doing my morning meditation. And there's a St. Francis prayer that we used to read together in the mornings, so I'm gonna end with that. It's an old prayer. And I found out from Polly Oliver that you have a song about it too. Lord, make me a channel of thy peace, that where there is hatred, I may bring love, that where there is wrong, I may bring the spirit of forgiveness, that where there is discord, I may bring harmony, that where there is error, I may bring truth, that where there is doubt, I may bring faith, that where there is despair, I may bring hope, that where there are shadows, I may bring light, that where there is sadness, I may bring joy. Lord, grant that I may seek rather to comfort than to be comforted, to understand than to be understood, to love than to be loved. For it is by self-forgetting that one finds. It's by forgiving that one's forgiven. And when we pass, that's when we are alive forever.
Liz, we miss you. I'm going to speak briefly about the time when Liz and I both began to work at Wayland Middle School, and then I'll skip forward to the final years of her life, when she and I had quite a bit of time together. Richard Shea will then share his wit and wisdom about Liz's many years as a middle school teacher and leader. Liz began in the mid-1970s as a teaching assistant, helping with the reading program, and I was a brand new teacher, freshly trained to work with children with severe dyslexia. Because of her mature perspective and her years in religious education in this church, Liz became an instant friend and colleague and was quite an anchor to me in that first year of teaching. She was adept at listening to my eager thoughts and diplomatically guided me to bring some ideas into manageable practice. Many teachers here today can attest to the benefit of Liz's mentorship. It didn't take long for Liz to realize she wanted to be a teacher of reading. She did her coursework and got her training while continuing to work as an assistant. Liz gobbled up ideas in her studies and tried them out on any lucky student she happened to be helping. She loved seeing a student work hard and suddenly make one of those "I got it" connections. Sometimes she'd bounce into my classroom next door to announce her student's latest accomplishment. "I just knew he could do it," she would crow. At other times, Liz would fret about a student who was struggling. And I'm sure many teachers in this gathering remember talking to Liz when she was worried about a student. We might hear, "No, he's just not comprehending the text. I know he has brain power, but he's just so discouraged." Liz would listen to our ideas. She'd puzzle about it during the night, and she'd come back the next day ready to try something new. Liz excelled at helping individual students, small groups, and persuading them that they could all learn. The last few years of Liz's life were animated by her curiosity, her good spirits, and her great smile. She continued to live for several years in the Sudbury house after Ken died. By 2019, Liz felt it was time to live in a smaller place with a little more support. And she settled into Newbury Court. And she settled in very quickly. She made friends easily. And she stayed active in the Wayland Book Group for several years. She joined a walking group to keep moving. And she attended a poetry group, which Dot mentioned, that she was very happy to be part of. And she would call me and say, "He's going to talk about Mary Oliver, won't you come over?" She no longer organized big events, but she was happy to participate whenever she felt up to it. Liz aged gracefully, slipping into a relaxed pace and maintaining a good sense of humor about the tricks that body and mind play on those of us who are aging. We had some good laughs. Liz, I miss you.
I love the honor of writing a tribute for Liz. The only problem, and it's a big one, is how to make it believable. She outdid us all, and we were not an easy group for that to happen. My wife reminds me that for years, each time I wanted to write something about Liz, I would mow the lawn, and by the time I finished, at least 3 good ideas had popped into my head. In the end, it was just a case of choosing. Do I write about her focused, well-crafted teaching, which was the gift she gave to each of her students? Do I write about her love for each of them? These students shared in common a dizzying array of learning issues, but a potential that Liz was determined to unlock. Her lesson plans benefited from a mind that understood the full range of possibility and the need to keep it real. Wayland Middle School, as you know, had 3 historical mentors: Henry David Thoreau, Rachel Carson, and Martin Luther King, chosen in part because they represent important ideals we wanted our students to strive for. Think about all three, and think about Liz while we were doing it. For starters, we needed 3 quotes for Liz's mural. By that, I mean the school's mural. Henry David Thoreau said, "I had 3 chairs in my house, 1 for solitude, 2 for friendship, 3 for society." I can't speak for solitude. Liz was too busy for too much solitude, but I can speak for friendship. Liz was the richest person I knew, with old and new friends alike, all which grew out of her commitment to both her students and her friends at the middle school and beyond. Rachel Carson pleads with all of us to be aware of the dawn birds of spring. Surely a reminder that Liz never needed. She walked through the woods for more than 50+ years that I knew her, and she always managed to teach any of us who came along for the walk. Her commitment to social justice, spurred on by Martin Luther King, was something she added to her repertoire the longer she stayed active at Wayland Middle School. Liz always had the instinct to do the right thing, but her commitment to fight injustice wherever it arose came from the daily battles we all had in our work and, of course, our life beyond our work at the middle school. When you look at the mural, you can see evidence of Liz's work everywhere. And if you look closely, you can even see her in person, teaching away, tucked in front of Dr. King. Outside of our 3 mentors, it is the only face you'll recognize. The muralist, on his own, understood Liz's importance to everything we did at the middle school. So what did Liz do in our school? Let me count the ways. She taught something relatively new at the time called reading recovery to reach students who were desperate to be in the game. She organized the special annual 6th grade bike trip to Walden Pond with attention to details that only seemed easy because of all of her hard work. She spent hours of her summers fine-tuning the school's schedule so that all of her students had a fighting chance to learn and to grow. She organized teacher outings at her home in Wayland and at her home away from home at Squam Lake so that we could gather to think outside the box and even having a good time doing it. And she did all of this with such a subtle touch that we assumed it was easy, when the truth was it was easy for us because of her hard work almost every minute of every day. It even included a constantly aching sore shoulder because she fell preparing for one of the bike trips. How did she accomplish so much? For more than 2 decades, our work got done because Liz reminded us to do it, or when necessary, she simply did it herself. For you see, virtually everything of lasting value takes hard work. The mission at Wayland Middle School to care for every student, to create a safe environment, to hold high standards for every student, to engage all learners, while caring for each of us as a community, embodied the ideals that Liz set for herself. Liz never asked for credit. She just wanted to help make our school better. I know I speak with all of you. I speak for all of you when I say, thank you, Liz, for being such an important part of each of our lives in the life of Wayland Middle School. When we say that we couldn't have done it without you, that doesn't even begin to describe all that you accomplished for everyone in this room and beyond.
Wow. I'm glad that all those people spoke. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Good afternoon. I'm Jim LeBaron, and I'm Liz's youngest child and only son, whom she liked to refer to as the bonus boy. 9.5 years ago, as I stepped into this pulpit to read my father's eulogy, I looked down at a very nervous mom. "I hope he can pull it off," she had said. "If you're worried again, Mom, don't worry. I've got you." In the slideshow, you may have just noticed an old family group photo of Mom as a girl. She's front and center, smiling, boldly looking forward straight at the camera lens with that intense energy and brazenness that we all knew and loved. It's a photo of the go-getter Liz, who had skipped 4th grade of elementary school, the daughter of a Wellesley girl and a Harvard man, according to her best friend Ginny, who so wanted to be here, but is here on Zoom. Lost it. Teenage Mom had always had feelings for the young man next door at the lake, Ken, 8.5 years older than her, son of her parents' good friends, the LeBarons. Unshakable Liz, who at 17 would win a hard battle with polio, and then, along with best friend Ginny, go on to matriculate at Mount Holyoke. Mount Holyoke. Hallowed ground in our household. The sacred Mary for my sisters and me was Mary Lyon, founder of the founding Seven Sisters School. Mom taught us from the get-go to admire Mary Lyon for valuing education above all and making sure women knew that they mattered and that those of them with great privilege bore great responsibility. To quote Mom herself, "It was at Mount Holyoke that I learned to question, to experiment, and to learn from experience. And for these gifts, I am continually grateful." As Ginny tells it, Mom's college experience wasn't all academics. Ken had just finished dental school and made regular drives to Mount Holyoke to court Mom in his head-turning convertible. As soon as Mom graduated, she married Ken and joined him as an officer's wife abroad in Germany. Perhaps the most striking photo in that slideshow is the one of Mom standing ethereally above the clouds in the Alps, with child with the first of her 4 children. She's the quintessential 1950s Mount Holyoke woman, ready to take on the world, mind, body, and spirit. Once settled here in Wayland with her burgeoning family, it was only natural that Mom, the religion major, became director of religious education right here in our own church. Any of you who grew up in this congregation have Mom, the RE director, to thank for pioneering a dynamic, hands-on, uniquely Unitarian Sunday school experience that enabled each of us to formulate our own spiritual philosophy. All 4 of us kids remember having the run of this building, sometimes even the clock tower, and the parish house across the street. In my mind's eye, I can see Mom's handwriting on the hymn lyrics on the easel, and I can hear her leading us in the recitation of the candle lighting that you just heard. To quote Mom's beloved Thoreau, "If one advances confidently in the direction of her dreams and endeavors to live the life which she has imagined, she will meet with a success unexpected in common hours." The success of Mom's life is reflected in the way that so much of her ceaseless striving to do the right thing had resonance. For instance, she selflessly took an incredible number of people into our home for long-term stays in times of need. Several of those people are here in attendance. After getting her master's at 42, so began her heyday, Wayland Middle School. I have piles of letters to me where she describes her passion for her work there. Here's one representative quote. "You were right. As you were writing your letter, I was in the midst of the grand preparations for 140 students to go to sergeant camp for cross-country skiing. And not being as modest as my husband, I will tell you, it was a logistical masterpiece." For better or worse, my sisters and I, each of us in some way an educator ourselves in our own domain, have Mom to thank for looking at so many things as projects in capital letters and feeling the need to spread out with our work in order to proclaim that we're accomplishing something. When I made the decision to pursue my own teaching career, Mom wrote in a letter to me, "I'm thrilled to hear you have joined Dottie and me in the profession. I know you're a natural. Half of teaching is pure drama. The other half is lots of hard work with a little inspiration thrown in. You can do both." Perhaps she knew how very much I would emulate her style. It's no coincidence that just 10 days ago, I was riding bicycles with my own French students in the gardens of the Palace of Versailles. Mind, body, spirit. Mom nurtured her spirit most deeply through music. Many of our family's happiest times were spent making or listening to music together. Years before they were married, Mom played second violin to Dad's first in a weekly living room quartet with his father on cello and her mother on piano. And of course, she loved singing with you all in the choir loft. She said that it was music that made her understand God. Mom wrote the following to me just before she began regularly traveling to the summer opera at Glimmerglass. I love hearing about places you've been and the things you're doing, feeling, and thinking. You inspire us when you share with us. I hope you will go to the opera occasionally. We never do, and I don't know why. I love listening with a good book Saturday afternoon. It's one of the rest times I allow myself every so often. Opera is my favorite form of entertainment. Someday I'm going to take a course. In fact, I've been known to say that in my reincarnation, I'll be an opera singer. Mom's mind was in constant motion, but she did understand the power of stillness and sought it regularly in nature. Significant memories with her are outdoors in any season, hiking, sailing, canoeing. She appreciated being taken out of her busy fervor to stop and take notice. I think our dad, especially, provided her with that stillness. She loved to recite Robert Frost's Dust of Snow. The way a crow shook down on me a dust of snow from a hemlock tree has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had rued. Hearing her recite that in my head makes me chuckle every time because she couldn't just leave it there. She had to explain to you that rude was R-U-E-D and that the poet had been having a sad, rueful day. So many of the memories that you all have shared talk of Mom's persuasiveness. She liked to get people to do things, and she had her own ideas of how they should be done. She loved to put adhesive stickers on things with directions. Mom read and took notes, notes upon notes upon notes. She's probably taking notes now. She kept abreast of world and national news and always wanted to be reading the latest important book. Her Mount Holyoke experience came full circle as her 45th reunion sparked a renewal of friendships. Following that reunion, she and her college dorm mates enjoyed over a dozen mini destination reunions, even one to France. She enjoyed the title of matriarch in her later years and took great pride in her legacy of educated and productive children and grandchildren. Her letters and emails are full of that. Mom was doing yoga on the floating dock even last summer. She was a fierce Scrabble player and played a mean double solitaire even in her 80s. She got bored with jigsaw puzzles, but she loved to join in at the very end when it got fast and furious. Last I knew, she was in 3 book groups and a poetry group. The computer-savvy tech whiz of her peer group, she regularly shared links to the Writer's Almanac and the On Being podcast. Mom is always with me. I know she's there when I'm in too much of a hurry and I mistakenly put my sweater on backward or inside out, or sometimes both, or when I leave all the cupboards and drawers open for my spouse to close behind me. When we swim, Mom is in our strokes. She's with us as we feather a paddle, as we make her brownie recipe or her lasagna, as we sing the harmony in a piece of music, as we teach young children to do a snowplow turn. She's with me now as I read aloud. When I picture Mom and Dad, she's in constant motion while he stands still, grounding her, protecting her. Mom died on Dad's birthday, December 28th. I like to think that this is a sign that he called her to join him, to take her along with him so that he could ground and protect her for good. Finally, this. Ever since I can remember, Mom liked to get up before everyone else in the house at Squam and go for a long skinny dip. Among her letters to me, I just found a gem of a description of a morning moment that I hope she can now relive. During this morning's swim, when I arrived at the LeBaron rock, I looked up to see 3 adult loons swimming towards me. I quietly finned to the rock and watched them swim to within 6 feet of me. I could see the red eyes and all the intricate white and black markings. I moved a little, and 2 of them skittered away, but one was not a bit afraid and stayed until both of us swam in our own directions. Not a boat or a human in sight, just your mom and the loons. I love you, Mom. Rest in peace.
This room feels so full. I invite you to rest in that fullness and in your own memories as we hold a moment of stillness to honor Liz. And I will then close us in a prayer. Spirit of life and love, in this silent, sacred space, we lean upon this love to sustain us at this time of loss and grief. As we gather to remember Liz's life, a beloved member of our family, our communities, our choir, may we remember her many gifts that she shared with so many, especially the gifts of teaching, of inspiring, mentoring, and organizing others, and of sharing a joyful, abundant love. We do not have all of the words to convey the fullness of Liz's life, or the impact she had upon us and so many others. It is hard to say goodbye, to imagine life without Liz around the table, swimming off the dock, in the pews of First Parish, or elsewhere in our lives. As Liz passes beyond the horizon of what we know of life, may her memory and all that she gave to us help to remind us to value friendship, learning, and family. Though we mourn her absence among us, may we find peace in our conviction that every day and every life is a gift, and that love is universal and immortal. For the gift of Liz's life, we are forever grateful. Even though we bid farewell, may we welcome her spirit when we sing in the choir, help to nurture our communities, our schools, supporting a struggling student, or sitting at a table or swimming in a lake with family and friends. So may we cherish her memory, the gift of her life, and the gifts of life and love that sustain us all. So may it be. Amen. Please join me now in singing hymn number 331, Life is the Greatest Gift of All. A fabulous hymn, I think, for Liz. Please rise in body or in spirit. I am just one in a series of ministers here at First Parish. And I believe the minister when Liz was the director of religious education was Reverend Ken LaFleur. And when he died, she immediately let me know and was deeply grieved. And she also passed along his benediction that he used every week and suggested I use it. And so I had it, and it seemed appropriate that this be the benediction to share with all of you. May the truth that makes us free, and the hope that never dies, and the love that casts out fear, lead us forward together until the spring breaks, and the shadows flee away forever. Amen. Go in peace.